support of Parliament and the judiciary, and indeed the civil society. And we will do that by deepening our collaboration and partnership with you and pursuing all the necessary reforms, capacity building in dispute resolution.
Reports such as the one we launched today preserve institutional memory, encourage reflection, allow us to identify good practices, confront challenges, and improve systems that underpin our democracy.
Now, the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has said Kenya should aim to hold the 2027 election without any court cases challenging the presidential results. Speaking in Trans Nzoia County, Mudavadi said post-election disputes have continued to delay development and deepen divisions among Kenyans. Addressing residents of Trans Nzoia, Mudavadi emphasized the importance of fair competitive politics and said leaders should build on the legacy of former leaders such as Masinde Muliro, who championed dignity, humility, and the rule of law. He said Kenya Kwanza parties will follow a democratic process in nominating candidates instead of favoritism. The leader also criticized insult-based politics and misinformation on social media, urging Kenyans to be vigilant against false information. He further encouraged Trans Nzoia residents to work with the government on development issues, citing government investments in education, infrastructure, and as well as other projects.
Kwa hivyo tunaambia viongozi wa hapa wote wana umaarufu mbalimbali wajitetee kwa mwananchi. Wakishamaliza kujitetea, tutakuwa na process ya kidemokrasia, kwa sababu hapo ndio tutapata ushindi. Na mimi nasema tunataka 2027 iwe petition free presidential election, ambayo itakuwa petition free. Hatutaki petition baada ya uchaguzi. Hatutaki. Kwa sababu petition ina mambo mengi, inachelewesha maendeleo na tena inaleta division katika watu. Kwa hivyo sisi tunataka tuwe na uchaguzi ambapo Mheshimiwa William Ruto atashinda bila petition. Mumbula. Petition free. Kwa sababu mwaka ule mwingine, but the last president to go without a petition alikuwa Mwai Kibaki in 2000. Ni lazima tuvunje, tukate huo mnyororo wa petition, tupate uchaguzi free and fair katika taifa letu, katika constituencies zetu, katika ward zetu, katika counties zetu. Tusonge mbele ili tuanze maendeleo.
Now, Machakos County Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi has called on Oburu Oginga to apologize to Kenyans over his advice to President William Ruto regarding leadership. Mwangangi said the remarks are unacceptable in Kenya because the country is governed under democratic principles and the constitution. He said there is no room for dictatorship in the country and urged Oburu to either clarify his statements or apologize to the public. He added that the late former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga was a champion of democracy and would never have supported the principles of dictatorial rule. Mwangangi emphasized that leaders must respect democratic values and uphold the constitution of Kenya.
The dictator does not apply in this country. Oburu Odinga, please apologize to the people of Kenya. Your brother, our leader, the late Prime Minister, could not tolerate that kind of a thing. He died fighting for democracy. Haiwezekani ati brother yake jua yote brother ndio anasema ana advise mtu ambaye watu wetu wamekufa mikononi mwake ati akuwe dictator. Hiyo hatutaki. Huyo tulimchagua democratically. Lazima akae na aishi under the principles of democracy and guided by our.
Now, political leaders across the country have been urged to put national interest first by promoting peace, unity, and responsible politics instead of hate, political, and violence. Former national chairperson of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Teachers Association, Kahi Indimoli said the use of youth in violent demonstrations and political conflicts threatens the country's security and future. He called on leaders to lead by example by practicing mature politics, respecting the rule of law, and encouraging peaceful dialogue. Indimoli made the remarks while addressing UDA party members in Vihiga town, stressing that peace is the foundation of national development and prosperity.
Hiyo culture ya gunism isiingie katika siasa zetu za Kenya, kwa sababu tukitaka nchi yetu iendelee kuwa na amani, ni lazima tuchunge kuwa tusiingize watu kutumia vijana kuwapiga wengine, kupora mali ili tupewe kura.
So waendelee tu kushika vijana mikono, waendelee kutupatia vitu vile tunaweza tembelea vikundi za vijana kama places za michezo, kama places za mpira, hizo zote stages za bodaboda, wale watu ambao mali vijana wanapatikana.
Now, religious leaders from Kajiado County have condemned the rising cases of church invasions and violence, saying they threaten freedom of worship, peace, and national cohesion. The leaders insisted that places of worship must be protected at all times and called on security agencies to arraign those responsible for attacks on churches. They also expressed concern over cases of youth abductions, urging the government to investigate the incidences and take legal action against those responsible.
Mpaka sasa makanisa kadhaa wanaingia kwa mahoteli na kuchukua simu za watu mchana peupe na wanaondoka. Unapotembea Nairobi, simu yako inanyakuliwa na mtu na anatembea ni kama hakuna kitu amefanya. Tunaona ya kwamba kuna usalama ambayo sio nzuri. Mpaka hata usalama mpaka ya rais ilikuwa na shida. Kwa hivyo tunaomba sana vyombo vya usalama yachukue majukumu na kulinda nchi. Walinde watu, walinde mali yao.
Na hata katika msimamo wa Mungu, nyumba ya maombi ni mahali pa kuheshimiwa. Na tungeomba sana wale ambao wanahusika na mambo haya ya ngunism waweze kuachana na tabia kama hiyo, kwa sababu tunajua kanisa ni mahali ya amani, ni mahali watu wanaweza kukimbilia.
Don't support this thing. If Mr. Kande is not working, please put another Inspector General of Police so that we can have a peaceful nation. So that when we are going towards the political year, which is 2027, emotions will be high. How will he be able to manage the security of the country if right now he can't be able to manage a little demonstrations like for the Gen Zs and the millennials and the Sabasaba?
Now, instructors at vocational training centers, the VCTs in Migori County, have renewed their call on the county government to implement long-delayed promotions, saying the delay in career progression has hurt staff morale and violated their employment rights. Through the association, the Migori County Instructors Welfare, the instructors gathered at the County Department of Education demanding that promotion letters be issued immediately. They said some of employees have remained in the same jobs grades for between 6 and 15 years despite meeting all the requirements for promotion.
You are a master of law. You are a doctor. You understand matters pertaining to law. And we all know that justice delayed is a justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. So we see that our justice for promotion is being denied. His Excellency, we therefore request that you move with speed to ensure that our promotion is granted. I know after this there will be a lot of intimidation. We want to say without any fear of contradiction that we are here knowing very well that the right to speak, the right to picket, the right to pursue our promotion is enshrined in the Constitution. Therefore, I want to say the faster you move, His Excellency, the faster.
But we are being told that our promotions are still in the process from 2017 to date. We don't know whether the process of promotion takes 7 years or 8 years. We were due since 2017. Now we are demanding as a team from vocational training centers within Migori County so that we be promoted with immediate effect, or else we'll put our tools down and we see the way forward. If it is the legal action or the political action. Just dilly-dallying. They are managing us. The minister herself ran away from the department. The chief officer, we have not found her in her office. The directors are just managing us as they usually manage us. Now, we are due for promotion. Every other department has been promoted twice. This is not the first time we are coming here for our promotion. This is the 50th time. I don't know. I can't quantify. Now, what is our ideal goal? The promotion letters. Without it, we...
Now, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba has said all students who fought teachers at Nyabisase Secondary School in Kisii County will face legal action. Speaking in Macharia, Kisii County, Ogamba said the government will not tolerate students attacking teachers or destroying school property, emphasizing the need to establish a root cause of such challenges to find a lasting solution. The Cabinet Secretary said discipline in schools is essential and action will be taken against students who break the law. He also said the government, in partnership with Safaricom and the M-Pesa Foundation, continues to empower students by providing digital skills and improving learning environments so that students across the country can have equal access to technology in education.
This time we need to go deeper and find out what is the real cause, the root cause of these challenges so that we can resolve them, because we do not want a situation where schools, we have indiscipline, we have the students touching their dormitories, but action will be taken against those students.
And what Safaricom and M-Pesa Foundation are helping us to do is to equip our students so that a student in Macharia, a student in Kasipul Kabondo, a student in Wajir, a student in St. Mary's School in Nairobi feel Kenyans.
It's not just upgrading the infrastructure, but also ensuring that our learners from early childhood to junior school, they are already interacting with digital facilities. The whole idea is to prepare them and to equip them into the world that is.
Now, the government has said it will not tolerate any attempts to sell public property illegally, pledging to thoroughly investigate claims that Murang'a Creameries was sold to a private investor. Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, Alice Wahome, said the factory belongs to the public and cannot be sold without following legal procedures and safeguarding the public interest. She emphasized that all agreements related to the claims will be investigated, and if found to have been executed illegally, the government will cancel them and hold those responsible accountable. Wahome made the remarks during a public participation meeting in Murang'a County, urging leaders and residents to work together to protect public assets from illegal privatization.
Ukweli usemwe, hiyo kiwanda iko kwa harakati ya kuuzwa, na ile bei inaonekana sio nafuu, sio sawa, na wale wanauziwa wanisikie na wanisikie vizuri. Sisi tukipata hii kazi, tukipitia wananchi wa Murang'a, na hapa niko na wa Kigumo, your stakeholders, we have not been asked, hatujaulizwa. We shall interrogate, we shall investigate, and we shall proceed to even seek to cancel that transaction if the transaction does not meet the legal and constitutional thresholds. So invest noting that this is public property owned by the people of Murang'a, given to the farmers of Murang'a.
Now, the National Land Commission, NLC, has launched reports documenting and mapping natural resources in Samburu, Isiolo, and Laikipia counties to support evidence-based land use planning, address climate change, and promote sustainable resource management. NLC Chairperson Dr. Abdullahi Sagaf Alawi said that the reports have identified key resources including wildlife, minerals, natural salt lakes, and tourism sites, while also supporting efforts to combat land degradation and the effects of climate change. Representatives from the Ministry of Environment said understanding ecological systems is essential for building a climate resilience and restoring degraded land. NLC said it will continue working with county governments, indigenous communities, and other partners to protect natural resources for the benefit of future generations.
Dr. We have the documents that helps us protect our environment. We stop speaking from vulnerability. We now start working from information to support us to move forward in protecting our environment. I am very delighted that to the counties, Isiolo, Laikipia, Samburu, for allowing this exercise to take place in your counties. History has been created, and so we will not just be surviving, we will be coexisting because we have the information.
As Kenya continues to register community land, implement county spatial plans, expand infrastructure, and pursue economic transformation, we must ensure that development does not come at the expense of the very ecosystems that sustain our people. Again, it was mentioned by more than one speaker, planning without reliable data inevitably leads to conflict, environment.
The government has assured residents of Mangale in Tana River County that all those involved in the recent clashes that claimed lives will be brought to justice. The Coast Regional Commissioner Paul Rotich said intelligence investigations have identified 104 illegally owned firearms in the hands of civilians, urging their owners to surrender them within this specified deadline. He emphasized that once the deadline expires, the government will launch a special operation to forcefully recover the firearms and take legal action against those involved.
Nafanya maafa, hakuna kitu ambaye inafanyika kwake. Juzi wakati alikuwa hii mambo alikuwa inaanzika, imeanzwa na huyo ACC pamoja na nini. Hiyo bunduki imepigwa pale, mpaka sasa hiyo bunduki haijapatikana, na iko hapa tu. Wakati mambo imeharibika, mambo inafanyika, ndio leo mnakuja kwetu mnasema bunduki ipatikane.
Vile mnasema bunduki zichukuliwe. Na tusibembelezane, hata ikiwa imepata kwangu ni nyorosho ichukuliwe hiyo bunduki. Kwa sababu bila usalama hatuwezi tukasoma, watoto hawezi wakasoma. Bila usalama hatuwezi tukaishi. Bila usalama hatuwezi kuwa na maendeleo. Ya nini tubebe bunduki kama bunduki haisaidii usalama?
Tusikubali tutuliwe. Watu watakuja na maneno matamu. Na yule anakuja na maneno matamu, kuna nia nyingine hapo nayo. Msipiganishwe. Nyinyi ni watu moja, nyinyi ni watu ya Kenya, na kila mtu hapo na haki ya kuishi popote Kenya.
Right, at that note, we take a short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us, call 0725 386 501 or 0740 653 453. EBN TV, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
ready for an uplifting experience? On Your Faith Today, dive deep into the life-changing message from the Word of God. Join Reverend Felix Kavoy as he shares powerful insights that will inspire, encourage, and strengthen your faith.
It is one thing to receive a prophetic word. It is another thing altogether to see that prophetic word come to pass in your life.
But that's not all. Experience special sessions of worship that will stir your soul and draw you closer to God. Prepare to be moved, uplifted, and connected with His Word as we come together in faith. Catch Your Faith Today every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Tune in and let your spirit be renewed.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Sports isn't just a game. It's passion.
He's done it. Jakub Mensik is the champion in Miami.
Drama.
Man, oh, come on now.
In the thrill of the unexpected. From the stadiums to the streets, we bring the game to you.
We bring you exclusive insights from the pros, bold predictions, and in-depth analysis like never seen before.
Get ready for the action, the controversy,
And this is bubbled over. Montez shown red.
and the moments that define greatness. The scoreboard, where every game is the biggest game.
You've seen them on TV.
Nakushukuru Mungu wangu kwa kunifikisha hapa.
But do you know their stories? Come with me.
If people look at me,
yes,
even before they hear me, will they see Jesus?
Wezi ambia watu mimi am a worshiper, na wakati you are worshiping people can't encounter God.
Ukisoma hiyo inabidi sana katika ile maisha yako hata kama kwamba hauimbi.
Join me, Teddy Psalmist Mwana wa Ngolo Mosio, every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only on EBN TV.
This is EBN TV, transforming your world.
transforming your world.
Well, welcome back to the program. You're watching The Drift. My name is Martin Macharia. And now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the dailies today. I'm having the Daily Nation newspaper and as well as the Standard newspaper dated the 10th day of July 2026. All right. Now, on the front page of the Daily Nation, there is a picture there on the left side of the head of state, President William Ruto, and on the right side, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and of course, the former as well head of state Uhuru Kenyatta. Top story says battle of bigwigs in Olkalau race as IBC wants it may postpone mini election. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IBC has warned that it could postpone or even cancel the Olkalau the parliamentary by-election if insecurity, voter bribery, and other breaches of the Electoral Code of Conduct continue. That's a story on page 6 of the Daily Nation, of course, continues to say that for President William Ruto, his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta, and his estranged former deputy Rigathi Gachagua next week's Olkalau parliamentary by-election is far more than a race for the other four vacant seat. The outcome of Thursday's closely contested vote is will not only shape the battle for supremacy in Mount Kenya, but also offer the three political heavyweights an early gauge of their standings as they recapitulate their strategies for the 2027 general election. That's sort of featured on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Of course, we remember that the opposition leaders actually tout time and again that they will field one candidate for the presidential seat, but in Olkalau there seems to be each and every party seems to have their own candidate in that particular area. That's why the Daily Nation today talks about the battle of bigwigs in Olkalau race, right? And of course, they say the three political heavyweights will gauge of their standings as they recapitulate their strategies for 2027 general election. Of course, the IBC also has warned that it may postpone the mini-election if it will be marred by violence, voter bribery, and what they term as insecurity, and of course breaches of the Electoral Code of Conduct continue. That's according to the IBC chairperson, that is Erastus Edang Edakon. All right. Moving on to other matters making headlines on the Daily Nation this morning. Mondi Tunya, the magistrate of Kenya's dark courtroom years, to the judiciary. He was a distinguished career officer who rose from the magistracy to the High Court, but to many for detainees, lawyers, and pro-democracy anti-activists, his name belongs to a darker archive. That's a story featured on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation as well. Now, Mary Wamboi loses bid to stop hotel takeover. Businesswoman fails to stop Equity Bank from taking over Glee Hotel after the High Court declined to suspend the lender's appointed administrator to page 7. That's as well on page 7 on the corridors of justice. On page 8, talks about state set to pay 6.9 billion Kenya shillings for Talanta this month. Now, the payment flagged by Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango would raise the total disbursements to the contractor China Road and Bridge Corporation CRBC to 28.97 billion Kenya shillings since construction began on March 1st of 2024. All right, that story as well on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Page 4 talks about Ruto, Gachagua, and Uhuru face a high-stakes political battle in Olkalau polls. Right, of course, we have witnessed whatever is happening in Olkalau. The campaign is actually on a high gear. We actually saw some few weeks or days ago, the residents of Olkalau were actually issued by, gas cylinders and as well as mattresses, among other things. And one then will ask the question, is this bribery? All right. Are they trading for their votes with gas cylinders and mattresses, and what about? We'll see what will actually transpire from Olkalau next week, even as the by-elections, take place. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper this particular morning. the Standard talks about, open bribery, and IBC is all back without bite. Now, at the center of the front page of the Standard is IBC chairperson Erastus Edang. In the corner, of course, whatever I was talking about, the residents of Olkalau on page, on the left side of the Standard newspaper. There are pictures there of, the residents being issued with mattresses. And of course, gas cylinders which were actually ferried by a lorry. You could see electrical poles, and as well as water pipes. All right, those are some of the pictures that were taken during the campaign trails in that particular constituency. Now, never before has Olkalau witnessed such a flood of government projects, cash, and senior state officials. A constituency that had been neglected for years has suddenly become the focus of extraordinary spending spree as Kenya Kwanza seeks to deliver victory for its candidate in the by-election seen as a referendum on President William Ruto's shrinking support in Mount Kenya. Critics warn the vote buying is happening in broad daylight as a hapless IBC issues repeated warnings but appears powerless to enforce the electoral code of conduct. That's a story as well on page 4 of the Standard newspaper for this particular morning. Of course, I don't know what to make of that. Is that actually bribery or just supporting the residents, empowering the residents? Because the Standard says never before has Olkalau witnessed such a flood of government projects. All right. So one would then ask, the by-elections are actually coming the next few days. And then yet again, this project comes, in just some few days to that, that's by-election in that constituency. All right. Of course, you might wonder how that would look like next year, even as we head over now to the general elections. All right. Now, page 2 talks about Abubakar Hussein, a quiet reformer giant who helped shape modern Kenya. That's as well on page 2, who's a former Iyala member of parliament. Abubakar Hussein Abubakar, who died yesterday while undergoing treatment at Nairobi Hospital, was among the activists who campaigned for the constitutional reforms and later took part in drafting the 2010 constitution. He was popularly known as Zain. He was among reform activists who regularly gathered at Ufangano House in the early 2000s to push for a new constitution under the leadership of the late lawyer Dr. Oki Oko Ombaka and Mutava Musiemi. That's a story on page 2 of the Standard newspaper this particular morning. Of course, may his soul rest in peace. All right. Now, moving on to the corridors of justice, DPP drops traffic charges against Lawyer Ndegwa. Now, Lawyer Ndegwa Njiru, a close ally of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, walked free yesterday after the Director of Public Prosecution, that is the DPP, declined to approve traffic-related charges prepared following his arrest by Kasarani traffic police officers. Njiru had been taken to the Milimani law courts for spending more than 3 hours in basement holding cells, awaiting arraignment over an alleged traffic obstruction incident at Thika Road on Wednesday night. Now, a few minutes before 1 p.m., he was escorted into court alongside more than 40 other traffic suspects. As he entered the courtroom, he chanted Ruto one time, but before stepping into the dock, where he immediately arrested journalists. Or the addressed journalist, I beg your pardon. Now, describing himself as what he termed as a prisoner of conscience, Njiru claimed his arrest was politically motivated. He questioned the legality of his arrest, saying Kenyans should not live in fear. Moments later, the police officer who had escorted him to court informed him that his lawyers, that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, had declined to approve the charges. The announcement caught Njiru and his legal team by surprise. They initially refused to leave the dock, demanding an explanation for why he had been detained for hours, only for the charges to be dropped. That's a story on page 2 of the Standard newspaper this morning. Now, Assembly seeks lower water tariffs. and the Kakamega County Assembly Finance and Economic Planning Committee has directed the county's 2 water service providers to engage the Water Service Regulatory Board to review water tariffs and make the commodity more affordable. The directorate followed a meeting with officials from the Department of Water, Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change to assess service delivery and the current tariff structure. Right now, the committee chairperson, that is Boniface Osanga, said the existing charges were too high for many households and urged the utilities to begin the legal process of reviewing tariffs. All right, 80 Kenyans die of cancer daily as MPs push for more funding. All right, now at least 80 Kenyans die from cancer every day, and another 125 new cases reported. The National Cancer Institute of Kenya, that is the NCIK, has revealed. Now, the Chief Executive Officer, Elias Meli, said the growing burden of cancer should serve as a wake-up call to both policymakers and general public. On Thursday, National Assembly Health Committee pledged to push for increased funding on NCIK, citing the growing burden of cancer and the need to strengthen prevention, curative and palliative care services, as well as research. Now, this commitment was made during a quarterly budget implementation and oversight meeting between officials, where the lawmakers acknowledged the progress made by NCIK, while agreeing that additional resources are needed to meet the rising cancer burden. That is a story on page 3 in regards to matters healthcare. Riders decry rising gang attacks and motorbike thefts. That is in Taita Taveta County, where the Riders Association raised the alarm over a crime wave where their members and their motorbikers are targets by armed gangs. Senior officials said the gangs operating between Kenya and Tanzania attacked and injured 2 riders, who are now admitted at Moi County Referral Hospital and their motorcycles stolen. The motorbikes were reportedly sneaked into Tanzania through the porous border in Taveta sub-county. Chairperson Brian Tole and the nominated MCA Mohammed Dudu said the victims were stabbed with knives by the attackers at Caltex area near Voi town along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. That's the story on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. County receives 50 million Kenya shillings medical equipment boost. That is in Bungoma County, where they received emergency medical equipment, refrigeration van, and cold room donations from the national government and the Rotary Club, a total of 50 million Kenya shillings. Now, 4 Kamukunji officers linked to 21 million Kenya shillings theft. Right, that's on page 3, where 4 officers at the Kamukunji police station are under investigations for stealing 21 million belonging to a Congolese national. It is claimed that the officers exchanged Feston Mwamba's genuine notes with fake notes, or with fake ones, then arrested him for carrying counterfeit, that is approximately $162,363 currency. Right? That's a story as well on page 3 of the Standard newspaper this morning. Now, matter sports. Spain whale-oiled machine faces Belgian blast tonight. That's on the Daily Nation on the back page. Also talks about Messi, Mbappe, Haaland locked in thrilling race for the Golden Boot award. That's as well on on the Daily Nation. Standard Sports talks about Belgium hoping to crack Spain's ironclad defense. And of course, on Monday, Luis de la Fuente's men became the first team in history to record 6 consecutive clean sheets. Belgium have had a roller coaster ride in the knockout phase so far. All right, that's as well on the sporting action on the Standard newspaper this particular morning. Well, it is exactly 6 minutes past the top of the hour. Up to speed with whatever that it is you're waking up to this morning as far as news is concerned, and as well as sports, right? Of course, you will remember that, the World Cup is actually, the FIFA World Cup 2026 is actually ongoing. Of course, it is scheduled to conclude on July 19. That is 9 days from now, all right? Of course, take a look at these matches. Of course, get to see how the world is actually the world of sports, how is hovering around. All right, 7 minutes past the top of the hour. Do yourself blessed and productive day ahead. My name is Macharia, and as always, God bless, and let's do this again when God says we do.